Please explain why analog sounds better than digital records.
Okay, the analog in and of itself is inherently gives a warmth, a color, a warmth to the sound. It just warms up in such a nice way. If the analog machine is calibrated correctly, and I'm talking about tape, then there's analog gear as opposed to plugins. Analog gear, again, if well maintained, they do the same process because the signal runs through tubes and it just warms up the sound. It gives you this like saturation that you can't get from digital. They're very different. Yeah.
So when you do, because in my amateur ear, it seems like the digital thing's just too clean.
Yes.
Right? It doesn't have that depth to it. But I take it you're running the digital through the analog?
Yeah, I work in hybrid mode a lot, so I work in both worlds. There are some challenges due to latency. When you leave the digital domain into the analog domain and then back again, you're going to get some latencies depending upon the equipment you're using. But I like to use hybrids when I'm mixing of both worlds to get that.
So if you're doing like a hip hop, are you doing that or are you just keeping it digital?
Oftentimes, in today's world right now, I'd have to say 90-some% is in the digital realm.
I always hear engineers speak about the importance of using references before mixing, right? Yes. Please give great references engineers can use for hip hop, R&B, reggae, and jazz.
Yeah, okay. A lot of times when you reach for references like that, it's kind of like has to coincide with a project that you're working on, right? So you want to pick references that are, in that genre perhaps, or probably on the top 10 that week, or what the vibe is going for with the producer and artist. They might be going for a certain kind of vibe. So using those references, like Jay-Z or something, or Biggie or whoever it is for hip hop, and for reggae, like, the old Bob Marley stuff, if they were looking for that traditional roots, listen to the Jimmy Cliffs and the Bob Marley stuff from the roots stuff. So it really depends on the record that you're making, what references you should be listening to. That you want to achieve that sound, and it's very important. Yeah.
Can you give me an example of a classic R&B album that you would use as a reference?
For R&B? Oh gosh, it's hard to, like KC and JoJo kind of R&B, or we're calling like wave, like Marvin Gaye and stuff like that. Oh, definitely the 70s. Any R&B from the 1970s had, especially 77, 78, right? Those years, there were some great records that were coming out. It's hard to remember them all, but like the Marvin Gaye's, the classics, right, from the 70s, a really soulful sound, and their harmonies and their arrangements.
You're mixing, when you're using a reference, right?
Yeah.
And you listen to all the different instruments. Are you trying to mimic every single instrument, or are you just trying to mimic like a particular instrument to capture the essence of it?
Good question, and very important too, because there might be a bass sound on one record that you're trying to match or trying to get, or there might be a guitar sound or a vocal quality that you want to mimic or try to achieve. That's when you use different references for different elements of your mix, right?
Well, let me hear you say mountain, mountain.